welcome to the show. And if you could really quick, just make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that like button on the video. That will help me out and help more people find the episode. And I really want to get this out to as many people as possible because we're discussing a very important subject today. It's really two subjects, homelessness and the opioid crisis, and they are really connected. And my guest today, Art Castro, he has a YouTube channel called Lost in Phoenix, and he's finally shining a light on this issue. And I feel like it's been ignored for the most part. I rarely see any news stories about it, but yet if you live near a big city, you can't avoid it. And I'll never forget the time I was back home in Seattle, and I drove downtown and I saw a bunch of blue tarps, and I thought, oh, there's like a festival or some sort of event happening. But it was actually just a homeless encampment. And I think the problem has gotten worse there, and it's starting to get worse here in Phoenix. So what Art is doing is hitting the streets, and he's just talking to homeless people, and it's really quite fascinating and extremely heartbreaking, of course, but it's very important and educational for all of us to learn about the face. I mean, I think you drive by and you just see, a homeless encampment or a homeless person, and you don't really get to know their story. And so before watching Art's channel, I didn't know what blues were. And so you're going to learn what those are. You're going to learn about some of the people Art has encountered on his journey. And we're also going to talk about maybe what we can do to turn this all around. So here we go. Enjoy Art Castro. Please welcome Art Castro to the show. How are you doing, Art?
I'm really good. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've seen my channel. I've seen your channel. We both have YouTube channels. And, I've interviewed a lot of rock stars and things like that, but I think honestly, like, you are like the true rock star with the stuff you're doing right now. I'm just like really impressed, and I'm glad that I found your channel through our mutual friend Nick Griemsmann.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how I was because you had interviewed him just because of his campaign, or so. I don't know why he was on your channel.
Right. Yeah. He reached out to me, and he's running for Phoenix City Council, right? District 8, I believe.
Yeah.
And we talked and interviewed him, and hopefully his campaign is doing good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he was on my show promoting his book. So, but let's talk about you. So you were just a typical kid growing up in Phoenix in the inner city, and you did good in elementary and high school, and you never got into the drugs and the gangs, but that was all around you in Phoenix, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes. That never crossed my mind to try, gangs or drugs. And, but it was all around me, definitely the influence and peer pressure and friends. Right. So I've been exposed to it, but never partook in it. So. Was there family members too? Is that part of your reasoning for starting the YouTube channel? Because you had family members affected by this. Right. I've had family members that have lived that type of lifestyle. And so it's a good way for me to understand, have the same upbringing, same family, same morals, but sometimes people make poor choices. And sometimes we have to live with the consequences of those choices. So this has been a good way for me to understand, why people do that. And also therapeutic for like my mom, so she can understand, it's kind of like therapy for her to, to see, try to understand. And she knows the viewpoint of a mom, living with not knowing where their child is at because they've decided to be out in the streets.
Yeah. So explain to me. So, I mean, I'll do the introduction before this and explain to the guests what your channel is and what you do. But basically, so your channel is called Lost in Phoenix. And what you do is you go around and you interview homeless kids who most of them, it seems like, are addicted to opiates.
That's correct. Right. So here in Phoenix, it's hitting us really hard. And on the streets, they're called blues, but they're really counterfeit pressed pills, right? So the cartels are buying chemicals from China to make fentanyl, and they're making fake Percocets, fake oxycodone. They're pressing them, making them over there in Mexico, smuggling them into Arizona. Phoenix has always been like the distribution point, right, for human smuggling and just drugs in general, marijuana, cocaine, whatnot. So the cartels are like, you know what, we're going to start making fentanyl, right? These pills. and that's why they're so cheap, because they're easily made. And
so they order the ingredients from China, correct? And then they make it in some sort of lab in Mexico, and then they have all these pills, and then they smuggle them across the border.
That's correct.
Okay. And they've been pushing this stuff more now partly because weed is legal in a lot of states, so they're not making as much from marijuana, so they've got to push something else. So they're pushing the fentanyl, and like you said, it's cheap.
Correct. So like the DEA has shown that in like 2018, 2019, at the border, they were the tons of intercepted marijuana bundles were less and less, decreasing every year. Why? Because now it's legal here. They're growing it here.
Yeah.
So there's no need. So they're like, cartels like, hey, we're losing business, so we're gonna have to create new business. And so that's when they started going into the counterfeit pills.
Is part of it too, the pharmaceutical companies have really been pushing the legal version of these pills. And that's, for some of these people, that's how they got started, was like they had a back surgery or something like that.
Right. So what I've heard is years ago, the Percocets and oxycodone, the prescription pills, people would have a bad back, car accident. The doctor would prescribe them these pills, and they would get addicted. And when the doctor would notice that they're addicted, they would stop the prescription, and then they would have to look for the pills. And so you could find a real pill out in the streets for $40, $50 but that's when the cartel stepped in and said, hey, we got these pills for $5, 10, it's 15, 10. They keep going down because the quantity keeps increasing here in Phoenix. Was
it your channel or somewhere else that I heard, was it that fentanyl is it 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine? Or maybe I've mixed those two up.
That's correct, right?
Oh, that one's
so
right.
That's how potent it is, right? That's how potent it is. It's 50 times stronger than heroin, 100 times stronger than morphine. But the bad thing is that there's no quality control in Mexico when they're making them. So the dosage is off on all of them, and so it's a gamble as to which pill you smoke, because, you smoke one pill, but it's really, it has a potency of 10, 20, 30 all at once. And there's people are overdosing.
Yeah, it's very common. So you decided you're going to start this channel. I mean, so you just grab a camera and you just say, all right, I'm just going to go talk to somebody, or what? Tell me, walk me through the first day of doing this. Like, you must have been apprehensive or scared a little bit, or.
Yeah, it was, I decided to inform myself, become more knowledgeable on what I'm seeing. So I decided to start asking these questions, right? What is that? Right. What are you smoking? What does it feel like? What's it called? How much do you pay for it? How do you make money for that? Right. So it's really an educational journey for me to try to understand what's going on in our community and raise awareness. Right. Because if I'm from the inner city and I grew up in an environment of gangs and drugs, and I don't know about this new drug or what's happening to our young people, that's worrisome for the suburbians that don't know. Right. So the politicians that have no clue about what's going on, the decision makers that should be knowing what's going on with our community. So it's really a campaign of awareness that I'm going on and trying to educate as many people as possible. Right.
And so I think, we talked a little bit about, how this process went about. I don't know. Did you say, because I think you said that the original pills are like $30 or $40 or that, and that's what the street value was 5 or 6 years ago, but isn't it now you can get a fentanyl pill for $5 or even maybe as low as $2 if you buy in bulk?
That's correct. Right. So right now, one pill, $5 here in Phoenix. If you buy 100, they'll drop down to $2, $1 because it's bulk. Right. So that's how prevalent. That's how when you have so much quantity,
and they're still making a profit off of that.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's that cheap to make. It must be super cheap then if they're making profit off a $2 pill.
Exactly, because it's quantity. So can you imagine what's flooding
Yeah.
what's flooding the market right now. That's why it's so prevalent all over our community. It's not just here in Phoenix. You know, I can go to Mesa, find people, Peoria, anywhere in the valley. I can find you groups of people that are living this lifestyle, unfortunately.
And did they catch any of these people going across the border? Did they make any drug stops? Do they try to go into Mexico and find where they're making this and stop them that way? Or
there is there's a task force in Arizona that does try to interdict, try to stop this, and they do. We hear about it sometimes. You know, they'll announce it on TV. You know, 50 pounds of fentanyl pills have been, you know, stopped here in Casa Grande and whatnot, almost on a weekly basis. And so, you know, $2 million worth of fentanyl pills were, you know, discovered in somebody's backpack, or some guy brought some fish, but inside the container was lined with pills. So that was just last week.
Oh, wow.
So, but that's a small portion of what's, you know, getting through.
Right. So it's still enough there's no shortage.
No shortage at all.
Okay. So what are some of the themes that you've seen in with these cases? You say that there's usually some sort of family breakdown. The support is not there for a lot of these people that end up on the street addicted to pills.
Right. What I'm discovering is that there's a family dynamic that's missing. A father probably not there. The mom probably works 2 jobs. And so the children they come after school and they have no guidance, nobody to support them and tell them right from wrong. And so who raises them? The street, you know, their friends. And so without that support, they're making bad decisions, and they're the ones that are out there struggling. And so sometimes when I approach people, I'll ask them, you know, I can be your mentor. You know, I can, you know, not everybody has a white picket fence and a house and a mom and a dad and all that, but we don't make, you know, bad decisions, you know, even more because of the lifestyle we've had or what we haven't had. So I try to talk to them like a you know, like a friend, and let them know that you know, we have to do better for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you offer yourself as a mentor or a father figure, or big brother. Do people take you up on that? Do they?
I've had people call me. Yeah. I give them my cell phone number, and here's my card, and call me. And if you need food, I'll bring you some. It's hot in Phoenix, of course. You need water, need a ride, you want to go to treatment, you know, I'll help you go to treatment, or I'll help you sign in. And so people have called me in the past, and I've had conversations with them, because sometimes they want a friend, right? Mm-hmm. They want to talk about things that on the streets they can't talk about, because they don't, you know, that doesn't exist with some, you know, they don't have those type of relationships. And sometimes I'm finding that some people really do want that father figure. They do want that mentor and a friend, you know, to rely on. But ultimately the decision is on them. Right. To decide to, you know, get better for themselves. So
help is usually available, not just from you, but there's a lot of services out there. That's not the problem, right?
Yeah, I'll hear from people that say, you know, the politicians, the state, the government should really do something. And there really are services out there for these folks, right? Shelters, treatment centers, but ultimately it lies with them to seek help for themselves, because I can take people to treatment center, but if they don't want it, they just leave. The treatment center won't keep you, because it can't be by force, right? You can't force
Can it
somebody.
Sometimes though, if they're arrested for something, if theft or there are some crimes that can no? Is that not in this state? In other states, I feel like
it's definitely not in this state. I've known people that have been arrested and they get arrested for whatever, you know, shoplifting. They go to jail for a day, 2 days, or whatever. One gentleman, he had a warrant, and he agreed, because of COVID, the courts if you have like something that you're going to do 6 months, they'll knock it down to a month or less than a month because of COVID. So to keep the jails not so packed. So he told me, yeah, I did a deal with the state and they gave me 10 days when I should have done more. So in those 10 days, no treatment, no nothing.
But then they also don't get the fentanyl. So don't they have the withdrawals really bad?
Yes.
So how do they deal with those?
Yeah, they get sick, and there's like a sick ward where they put them in there. But it's just like a cold or a flu to them. Even though they know that they're sick and they're withdrawing, there's no treatment in jail. So so it's interesting, and that's where probably this gentleman got out after 10 days, and he's back on the street. He doesn't have support, no family. So 10 days later, he's clean. He looks way better, but he's out there.
But so did he go right back to fentanyl then?
Went straight back. He's still out there. I just talked to him last week.
So you have like, I don't know if this number is accurate. You have like 60 pictures of people that family members have asked you to keep an eye on. Like, how do you keep all those people straight? 60 different people that family members are trying to have you keep an eye on. I mean, that's a lot of juggling.
Right. So that's a different aspect that when I started this channel, I didn't think, people would reach out to me. Hey, I'm in Washington. My name is Joe. But my mom, I haven't seen her in 5 years, but I know she's in Phoenix. I know that you're out here interviewing people on the streets. Do you mind if I send you my mom's picture? And if you see her, please let me know. So it's turned into that. And so I'm
so sad.
That's extremely sad.
It's like 5 years or whatever the time period is. These people have completely lost touch with a family member, a parent, a son or daughter.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the case. And they know that they're homeless. They know that they're on drugs. They just don't know where. It's in Phoenix somewhere, right? I don't think she's in jail, they said, because I've called the police.
Okay.
I've called the morgue.
Oh, so they're not deceased, or they didn't find the body or whatever. I mean, that's like, this sounds morbid, but I mean, that's where we're at with some of this stuff, huh?
Yeah. And I've had lots of those cases where I haven't seen my brother, my sister, my this, my that. And so it's kind of scary what's going on. Where are they? And so it's turned into like a little database of missing people.
And this should not be your job. There should be somebody that's in charge of this, like a agency or something that
you would think, but sometimes you got to take it upon yourself to, make, just shine a light on this. And it does help because they appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them no, the family, right? Oh, no, never mind. Yeah. I'm going to say, yes, send me the picture.
Do you find people? You found some of them?
No. I haven't, not any of those 60, I'm up to about 70 now, but, and I'll take notes on these people and where they were seen and how they'll give me description. They're about, 6 foot, 120 pounds last time I saw him. And
do you think these people are dead, or do you think they're moved to a different city, or what do you think happened to them?
Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the nation, 1.5 million people here in the city. They're probably lost here. They're most likely doing drugs, right?
Okay.
So it's just so many people. Wow. They're lost in the shuffle.
That's so sad. So I think I kind of asked you this, and now I think we kind of got off topic a little bit, but so like when you first started it, were you apprehensive, or just do you ever fear for your safety, or do you ever get worried about being robbed or anything when you're chatting with these people? I mean, that would be one of my biggest fears, is I would be apprehensive, like, because you hear the stories where they say that this stuff happens all the time, where people are robbed and all these violence and stuff. You worry about that for yourself, though?
Safety is my number one concern, but growing up in the inner city, you're self-aware, and I'm comfortable in that environment, to a certain extent. I mean, I know when danger, I have like a sixth sense for danger. And
are you not? I think I also heard you're ex-military, so you might have a little bit of training to take care of yourself if something did go down.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was in the military as well. So that helps.
Okay.
And so it's just having an awareness and who to approach, who not to approach. So you got to be aware of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these cases that, I mean, they're just heartbreaking. I haven't seen everyone, but Carlos, do you remember this one? Because this was the first, I think it was the first one on your channel, or I don't know if there's other ones before that was deleted, but that was the first one, right?
Carlos was the first one, 21 years old. He has a home with his mom, but Carlos is homosexual. He has a boyfriend. His mom does not accept the boyfriend. So Carlos chooses to be out in the street with his boyfriend. So this was last November. I saw Carlos about 2 months ago again. He's looking worse. He's still out in the streets. He didn't want to do an update, an interview, but he's not looking good. So,
So yeah, he was smoking Percocets, right?
it was blues. You know, some people call them Percocets. Some perks, Percocets, Oxys, Oxycontins, but they're really the $5.
They're all the same fentanyl.
They're all the same.
Okay. Yeah, because it's sad. Because I remember you asked him, like, you know, did you have another goal? And he said he wanted to be an FBI agent and profile serial killers. He thought it was really interesting, the psychology. And I thought, well, yeah, I think that's interesting to a lot of people. And I think he's got to be someone intelligent to even kind of like consider that as a career. So it's just sad to see that potential, but there's still possible hope for him, right? I mean, he's still out there.
He's still out there. He's 22 now, and he's still young. And he's so I record about 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes talking to them, but I talk to them, 30 minutes sometimes before I record, 30 minutes after I record. And so I get to know them a little bit better, a little bit more, right? When I'm talking to them. So definitely lots of potential, articulate, smart, wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I think he's just a good person that's just lost right now, like most of them. So I hope that one day he decides to get treatment and just live a better lifestyle.
Yeah. Jesus, he's 22 at the time of the interview with him, and he'd been addicted to blues for 3 years. He'd never done professional treatment. And this was scary about this case was that he had OD'd many times, and they had to use Narcan, which I just learned about that when I used to work in the schools. But Narcan is a thing that they can give you if you're ODing to save your life, basically. Whatever, it's like some sort of, is it like a adrenaline kind of thing?
Right. It counteracts the effects of kind of wakes you up, basically. Right. So I carry Narcan. There are 3 injections, but there's also a nasal spray. So Jesus, that's probably that's probably the one that I refer to the most. That's a really positive story. The young man was knocked out on a sidewalk. I approached him. And
you thought he was dead, right?
I literally thought he was dead because he looked deceased, just the way he was laying, and just it didn't look good. And now that was my first concern, like, I'm about to find, a body, basically, right? And so I touched him, and whoa, he woke up. So I'm like, good. Hey, I'd like to talk to you. And then we went away from the street and ended up talking to him. And basically, he's telling me the same story, right? And his age and 3 years, and he's from Tucson, but he's been here in Phoenix for the past 3 years. And I asked him, do you miss your family? He said, yes. Do you have a message for your mom? And in Spanish, he says, Mom, please forgive me, and so that was, touching, and I wished him well. And please get treatment, my same message. And here's my contact information. Please call me. I'll take you. Well, that same day, all of Tucson's calling me, right? Because on my page, I have my contact information. And so he was a very popular young man in Tucson. He was a football player, just a good-hearted young man. And they hadn't seen him in almost 3 years. So his mom, cousin, sisters, brother, like everybody's his friends, right? And one thing I don't do is, I used to do it when I started my page, just giving out, hey, I'm on, on this corner and this corner, but I learned right away, don't do that, because there's some people that don't have good intentions. So don't give out people's locations. And when people reach out to me and say, hey, that's my so-and-so, tell me where they're at. Like, you know what? I'd rather not, because if something happens to that individual, because the information I'm giving you, I don't want to be responsible. So how about if I find Jesus and I'll take him to you, So it took me 2 weeks to find him again.
Oh, really? He doesn't hang out in the same spot, or?
No, they're homeless. They're homeless.
But don't they have like a corner? A lot of them have tents, I feel like. And
yeah.
Some of them?
Some of them do have tents, but business owners, rivals, um, the police. Hey, you can't sleep here. Hey, you can't hang around here. So they scatter. They get in fights. People are looking for them, not for the good reasons, right?
Yeah.
They're, they owe people money or they stole something. So it took me 2 weeks every day after work to go and find them. I ended up finding them, and I was so happy when I found them, right? And I approached him. I was like, Jesus, do you remember me? He said, yeah. Come on, dude. Let's go get food. He followed me. He gets in my car. I give him my cell phone. I said, call your mom. He calls his mom, and he's like, hey, mom. And she's like, who's this? It's Jesus. And she starts, oh my God, I've been looking for you. Whose phone are you using? The YouTube guy, the interviewer, he let me borrow his phone. I said, tell her that we're going to get you some food right now. Where is she? After we get food, I'll take you to her. And she was 5 minutes away, close nearby, because she was looking for him. And so we got him food. He's eating while I'm driving. And 10 minutes after that, I made a little 2-minute video of me reuniting him with his mom. Cool. So that embrace, after a mom not seeing her child, not knowing if he's alive, not knowing if he's in jail, that was beautiful, and that's what it's all about right now. Right now he's, people tell me from Tucson, because I have subscribers in Tucson, that he's doing better. He's working, and he's good.
He's clean. Wow.
He looks like a totally different person.
That's awesome.
So that's a success story, and that's what we need more of those, right? Because there is hope in recovery, right? People do transform.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I love about your channel. Yeah, and I think it gives people hope. Let's highlight some other people. Tony, this kid's only 17, and I think he said that he saw his friend get shot, and he's been robbed himself at gunpoint a few times. That's why I worry about your safety. And what is he selling, candy and wiping down windshields for $30-$40 a day? But you said he was you saw him at a gas station, and he was working, he was hustling. So he's a hustler. This kid's got some potential. Is there any updates on him?
The update on him would be that soon after posting that video, probably a month later, somebody that said that's his sister got on there and said, hey, he's not 17, he's 21. I don't know why he's lying, but I know he is out there, because in the video that young man said that he isn't using, but he's definitely using. So sometimes they're not upfront with what they're doing. But it is true that I was at the gas station getting gas, and he's sweeping. So that's something they do. The gas station owner or whatever say, hey, I'll give you some money for you to sweep and clean or throw a trash or whatever. So that's a little hustle that they do, or they'll wipe windows, or they'll open the door for you and, expect some change or whatever. So that's the one way that they make money.
Okay. But then at the same time, they're using that money to buy their blues, right?
Most likely. But I do know that they still need to eat, right? They still need food. They go to McDonald's, is probably their favorite place, or just food, just fast food is what I see usually that they consume they probably don't eat 3 meals a day, but they still need to eat and drink.
Yeah, because I think the one what Jesus was doing was $100 habit a day. And that's a lot, but at the same time, it's not that much compared to what some other more expensive drugs would cost, right? Right.
It's all over the place. The range. How many pills do you do?
Yeah.
2, 20, 50, 100, so it's all over the place.
And do they do is it usually just one at a time and then it lasts 30 minutes? Or how does that, is it a thing where they take 5 and then they're good for a few hours, or how does that work?
So it's one pill. The pills are really small.
Sure.
And it's one pill on aluminum foil, and they get a lighter underneath the foil and they smoke it with a straw. And supposedly it just varies. Some people feel the high for 5 minutes. Some people feel it for 30 minutes. Some people feel it for an hour. It just depends on body composition, metabolism, body weight, If you just recently started doing them, or you're a pro that's been doing it for 5 years, you probably need them a little bit more regular because your body adjusts to it and needs more and more. So supposedly the way they're being, they were created and designed, like a pharmacist designed them for you to have a short high, and you need more of them, like very addicting, And so that's kind of scary when they're getting that good to design a product that needs to be consumed like constantly, because that's just a profit machine.
Yeah, because wasn't a lot of this stuff was designed originally, not the counterfeit ones that the cartel's making, but the original legit Oxycontins and oxycodones or whatever, weren't they designed for hospice? These were designed to let people have a little bit of relief because they're in so much pain that they're dying. Not for 21-year-old healthy kids.
Numb the pain, right? So if you have cancer and it hurts, they were giving these pills to numb the pain. And so these are opioids. And these kids, and I'll ask them, are you numbing a pain? Yeah, my ex-girlfriend died, or so there's a pain that I'm numbing. My mom died, I'm numbing that pain. So, and I'll ask them, what do you feel? I feel nothing. That's what I like about them, is I feel nothing at all, and that's what they're chasing. And then sometimes I'll ask them, like, do you still get high, that numbness, or now are you taking the pills because you're trying to cure your withdrawals? Yeah. And so it's half and half. Some are still chasing that high, and the other half are, I don't want to feel the withdrawal, so I need to take the pill. Yeah,
but it's not, it's interesting. I heard somebody talking about this earlier today, and they were saying that it's not a character defect to get addicted to these things, because that's what they're designed to do. In fact, they make mice addicted to these drugs. Like, these drugs are, but the problem is, the only character thing would be like deciding to do it in the first place. Because that's like when you make that, like you said, poor decisions. When you make that decision, it's like you're going down that road. It's almost like you can't turn back. It's really hard.
It's really hard. Like we just highlighted Jesus, and it took him 3 years to turn it around. 3 years lost, 3 years near death. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a big gamble with your life, and you'll never get those 3 years back. The time with it. And then what are the long-term effects to his body, his mind, taking those chemicals? I'm not sure.
So you interviewed a couple, Jen and Robert. They're homeless and addicted to drugs. Jen was clearly dealing with some mental health issues. And they were talking about, they saw a 13-year-old that was out smoking and selling drugs, and they thought he actually might have been younger. Now, you said the other kid said he was 17, but he was actually 21. Like, how young? What's the youngest you think? They thought they were saying this kid might have been 8.
The youngest that I've seen personally was 15, but so they said 13.
Yeah.
This other person I've asked are 12, 14, 15, 11, 12. I uploaded a video a couple days ago, and that couple said the youngest they've seen was 12, and he was with his mom. So the mom and the 12-year-old are out there in the streets. The boy is now 14. They're still on the streets. So talk about sad, where they don't have a chance if the mom is, hand in hand with them out in the streets. That's very disappointing, and that's when we as a society need to step in. When somebody's a grown adult and they're deciding to live like that, they're adults. But when you're 12, you have no shot at life.
No, that's a child protective service thing for sure.
Right.
God, this one was just heartbreaking. Michael Anthony, how do I say his last name? Arriaga? Arriaga. Okay. I had that totally wrong. But you interviewed him. He was doing 20 blues 20 blues a day. And then he went down to 2 or 3 a day. And then he was completely sober, right? He was doing methadone. And at the time you said it sounded like he was motivated to get clean and live a better life for himself and his kids. He had kids, correct?
Yes. Michael, I remember him. He was, was it 2-3 months ago? I talked to him originally. I interviewed him and I met him outside of a rehabilitation center. That's where I met him. And he had tapered down right off of the blues and was using methadone to help him just totally be clean. And I want to start my business. I want to, be there for my family. And I just got the news, what was it, 2 weeks ago from his family that he was, the police were looking for him because allegedly he had stabbed and murdered his father. And a couple of days after that, the police did end up arresting the young man. So that's unfortunate because his father is deceased now. If it's true, what they say that he did it, he'll be in jail he'll get out when he's 60 maybe. So it's just tragic what happens, right? When that lifestyle, nothing good comes from this lifestyle.
Right. And I don't bring that up to stir up emotional pain for anybody, but I feel like we could learn from something like that. Like, this is a path that some of these other kids may be on. I mean, or why would you want to go down that route? I mean, not for only the kids that are out there right now, but maybe if anybody's listening and if they ever thought of like trying this drug, I mean, this is the kind of things that I feel like should be taught in schools. Like, these kind of examples and things should be shown to kids. Like, this is a path that, you will go down if you start taking blues or whatever. Cause I feel like maybe a lot of them were just naive and didn't realize how bad this path could go. I mean, it seems like most of the ones you interview, when you ask them those questions, like, what advice would you give to somebody? Like, don't ever do this. Don't try this. And it was interesting. One of the girls, I think I had wrote a note down. I think was it Brandy? You'd done a Zoom interview. She was totally clean. It was like a Zoom interview that you had done about, and you guys were talking about drug addiction. And she had an interesting point where she said, they didn't tell you what it was like in school. They said, don't do drugs because it's bad, but they didn't really get into why. And she said, they didn't tell you you're going to lose all your money. They didn't tell you that, you're going to have these really terrible withdrawal symptoms where it's like the worst flu of your life. They don't go into the details about that.
That's absolutely true. I remember when I was a kid, the don't, just say no campaign started right back in the 80s with Nancy Reagan. And I think in school, they want to sanitize everything. They want to filter and keep it clean. Right. But I think we're at a point where we need to remove, I think we've grown as a society, and into big issues. And so when you sanitize everything and pretend it's not there, right? You don't tell a Brandy about withdrawals, about, that potentially you could kill your father, potentially you can go to prison. And when you don't do that, they're going to discover it on their own. And so that's something we need to do better, whether it's in school or even parenting. And I think also taking accountability for oneself, right? I should be responsible for myself with the help of my family and the help of school to support me and the teachers. So I think it's, there's enough for all of us to help each other and create awareness.
Absolutely. Well, another kid you had, Enrique. So this kid's 21 and this is like, I don't know if this was on air or off air. We're talking about though, how some people get on these pills for injuries, and he started taking pain pills for a back injury from football. And he went from pain pills to blues to living on the streets. And, and he had an interesting, you said advice you asked him about his advice to people. And he said, if you're weak, if you're a mama's boy, don't do it. Don't take these drugs. I thought that was really interesting advice that, he felt like he was weak because he got addicted to him. But like I was saying earlier, I don't think it's a character defect.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's interesting the views and perspectives that these folks give you, right? But there's validity there because he's obviously talking about himself. And so how many other friends that he's seen that went down that route because of what he thinks are character flaws or whatnot, right? And so an update on this young man is a month after I talked to him, he went home and he told his parents to take him to treatment. They decided to take him to Mexico.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's been in Mexico since then. So now 4 months? In Mexico, it's not voluntary leave. You're stuck. You're not leaving until the program is done.
Interesting.
Yep. So he's been there 4 months. It's a year-long program. He's looking good, feeling good, and I can't wait for him. If he ends up coming back, I'll try to talk to him. But I'm glad that having that conversation with me, maybe I planted a seed, and that's what
absolutely.
That's one thing that I like is that I tell him, maybe you're not ready today, but maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next year, because that's crucial, right?
Yeah.
When they hear it from a stranger.
You're exactly right. That's what you're doing. That's what I love about your channel. If people check that out, is you really are. You're planting seeds. You're not judgmental. You're not saying you need to go to treatment. Why you're living on the streets, you loser. Like, you're not attacking them. You're very caring, and you offer to buy. I mean, you give them food and toiletries, and you offer to buy them lunch. And I mean, you're very kind and caring. And I think sometimes that can be enough, right? I mean, sometimes they just needed someone to care, and then they're like, well, maybe I should take care of myself and try to get better.
People have literally said, hey, you know what? Thank you for talking to me. Usually people just ignore me. They spit on me. They call me names, get a job, F you, just bad things, right? Because they're being judged, right? And so that's unfortunate, because that might have been me, myself, before I started doing this, because we don't take time to understand what's going on with these people, right?
Yeah.
If we did take a little bit of time to understand and help in some way, we'd be less judgmental, and maybe we could help some of these folks who have success stories like Enrique, like Jesus, so.
No, that's interesting. I went to this like seminar one time, and it was about homelessness in Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And they said that was one of the biggest things that they took away when talking to people, is that they felt ignored. They felt like if you're homeless, you feel completely ignored. People do not want to look at you. And so if you just go up to them, and they gave us these like goodie bags of like toiletries and things, and they say, if you see a homeless person, give them one of these, and they'll be really appreciative.
I discover that every single day. They really appreciate you taking the time and giving them something that they need, a toothbrush, a toothpaste. Those are little essentials that I take for granted, because it's right there. I have a home, but a lot of people don't have that, the basics,
Well,
so
it's like you're saying, that they're not, that's not their top priority, right? It's like getting the blues, and because if they don't get their pill, I mean, they're going to get sick and have these withdrawals. So that's number one priority. Then later down, on the list is food, McDonald's, toiletries, toothbrush, all that stuff, right?
That's exactly right. It's, taking a shower is way down on the list of essentials every single day.
Yeah. Oh, this was another one that, this kid was so interesting. Eric, he's 21. He was with his girlfriend, Faith. He'd been taking blues since he was 15, dropped out of high school, smoked meth, doing all this stuff. Then he got sick and tired of being sick and tired, which is the term I think I've heard from a lot of recovering people. And he went to rehab. And I just thought this part was so interesting, where he was talking about how he would wake up every day to the most beautiful sun. I mean, if you're not from Phoenix, or I don't know if you like sunshine, but I mean, that's why I moved here, is because we have the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets, beautiful weather. But he would wake up to the most beautiful sunrises in the worst places. He said he would wake up behind dumpsters and trash cans and things. And, and it's like, that's the thing that finally woke him up, that was like, what am I doing?
Exactly. Yeah. So I talked to him, about I think it was last month. I went out to his mom's home, where he's going to treatment, right, every day, kind of weaning off that methadone, the clinic, so he's doing a lot better, looks a lot better. His mind is back. And I plant a seed back then when I talked to him initially, so maybe he said your videos really helped him. The videos helped. And in the channel description, he read that, and he really appreciated that. He said in the interview, so words have power, and words have meaning. So we have to be deliberate on what we say and how we say it, to inspire and motivate these people, to let them know that they're worth more.
That's so cool. Another thing I thought that was so interesting is, I mean, this is where you're at with these kids, with some of these kids. Like, he goes, it's one of those things that, to me, it's like a thing where we can look at some of these cases, and one thing I think it can do for a regular person is just give him gratitude, because he said that he looks forward to paying bills. And how many people complain about paying bills? This kid, he just wanted to pay bills. He wanted to be normal. Like, it kind of made me think. I was like, gosh, that's really interesting to hear that from someone who's been, waking up behind a dumpster. And for him, like, paying bills is like winning the lottery.
Yeah, that's that perspective, right? That you and I are oblivious to. We have no idea, right?
No.
And just like he doesn't know what it means to pay bills, but he wants to, because he knows that's accountability, that's responsibility. Things
it's
have
normal,
been lacking, right? Normal. He wants to be normal.
Thing, yeah. What other cases stand out to you?
What else sticks out? I think when I do couples, when I interview couples, Yasmin and Orlando. Sometimes I'm conflicted with couples because I kind of like when a female is with a guy, like a boyfriend or somebody to protect her, right? But at the same time, are they enabling each other?
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Are they enabling each other? They're not really helping each other out. They're helping each other to stay there because they're comfortable.
It's a comfort zone
in
thing.
that
Unless
safety.
they both decide they want to. And I'm assuming that's more rare if they.
I think it's rare.
Because usually one would say, I want to get clean, and then.
I think it's rare, to be honest with you.
It would be hard they'd both always have that monkey on their back. Like if one of them falls into the trap, oh, come on, let's just do one,
Right. It's tough. So it's tough. Those couples ones are really hard because, it's just hard to get through them because you need to get through two people. You're not just trying to convince one person.
Yeah.
You're trying to convince two people to, open up, be vulnerable and talk and change their life.
Yeah. Some of these people, they look so, I'm not trying to be like, a jerk here, but they look kind of strung out, right? Like, and I'm not being facetious, but do you ever just give them like a mirror and say, look in the mirror? Like, that's one of those things you talk about. They don't have toiletries. Do they have mirrors? Like, I remember I had a guy, who played in a pretty big metal band, here in Phoenix, on my show. And, he had started taking meth. And he said one day he looked in the mirror and he didn't recognize himself. Like, do these people, is that something that do they look in the mirror?
Yeah, they're self-aware. They're self-aware. They'll go to, like, if I'm going to interview them, they'll go look in like a window, like a building window, and kind of look and, oh, my hair, hey, can I put makeup? I've had to wait 15 minutes for somebody to put makeup on. No lie. Yeah. So they're self-aware.
Interesting.
Some are totally out of it, right? I just today I uploaded Crystal. She's, she was not feeling well, and so she didn't care about her looks, right? She doesn't look good. She wasn't feeling good. And so, but there is that self-awareness.
Because that can sometimes be a huge wake-up call, I would think, to look at yourself. And I'm serious. Like, maybe some of them avoid looking at themselves or look in a mirror, and then they look in a mirror and they might see. And that's the other question I had. Like, when you interview them, is it a mix? Like, are they always, some of them must be high still, or are they usually clean, or is it kind of 50-50, or what would you say when you're interviewing them? What is their state?
Most of them are probably under the influence, whether they're coming off or they just smoked it 15 minutes ago. But again, remember, how long does it last for this person?
Right.
I suppose that person is it an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. And when am I coming into the picture? Right. 5 minutes after they smoked it or 5 minutes before they need their next one,
Right.
So it's all over the place, but I would say they're under the influence, but enough to function, enough to walk, enough to talk, enough to know what they're saying and, give some kind of insight.
Sometimes, cause I can't remember which one it was, but one of the kids, he lost track of the conversation. I forget which one. You know what I'm talking about? That one where he just goes, I'm sorry, what was the question? Like, he was clearly on. So, and then it makes me wonder too, so how long, so, you said the high only lasts 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. Then how long until the withdrawals start to get really bad? Would it be hours later, or could it just be 20 minutes they start to? Oh, really?
For some, again, it's all about body composition, and a lot of factors play into that.
Wow.
But to some people, I'll ask them how, when do you start feeling sick, and some I need them regularly because I don't want to feel that pain, right? The cramps, the vomiting, the this, the that, and so the headaches, all that stuff I avoided because that's why I need 50 a day, because I'm trying to prevent from even the from it starting to begin with, right? The withdrawals. So it's all over the place for some people. You can't say 30 minutes before or after. It's all over the place. So it's unfortunate, and they'll do anything. They'll go in a store, and I've seen them go into Circle K, and they're coming out with, they're loaded with beer, to sell for $5, per case of beer to just go get pills. So it's unfortunate,
So they're stealing the beer and then selling it?
Yeah, it's boosting. They call it boosting, right? They'll go into Walgreens and they'll get shampoo or diapers or whatever, and then they'll sell it out for, if the diapers were $20, they'll ask for $10 out in the street, and unfortunately people do buy it. So that's so street stores are taking a big loss for sure.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's every day.
So why is this topic not a bigger issue on the news? Like, I feel like canceling people or COVID, I mean, there's all these other things that are just dominate the news. Why do you think, I mean, this is like an epidemic, not only of the drug addiction, but the homelessness. I mean, both of these issues are huge to me. Why do you think it's not? And also people are dying. People are dying on the streets.
That's a great question. I don't know. It's politics, obviously, but what about this? What nobody wants to touch, right? But you have a police officer shoots, an unarmed young man. It makes headlines, nationwide, or, I don't know. I can't pretend to know. But it's unfortunate because people are dying. I'm highlighting the people. So two of the people that I've interviewed. So I've uploaded over 200 videos since last November when I started doing this. Okay, so I've talked to about 200 people. Two of those people are already deceased. Okay, one of them, he just got arrested for murdering his father. Right. So that's three people, right? Yeah. Just gone. And how many more do we have to lose?
Yeah.
These are young people. These are all people in their 20s, And so what do we have to do? That's why I'm trying to sound the alarm. I've interviewed politicians. I've interviewed, get on podcasts and talk to people, mothers. And I think my community, I'm building a community and to create that awareness across the valley, the state, and nationally, because again, what comes here first, it's going to get spread out across the nation, right? So we definitely need to bring awareness to, what do we do? What's the plan?
So I saw this statistic. I don't even have the most up-to-date ones, but in 1999, there were 6,000 OD deaths, 4,000 pharmaceuticals, 2,000 heroin. And then in 2016, there was 50,000 OD deaths, 14,500 pharmaceutical, 15,500 heroin, and then 20,000 fentanyl. And I'm sure those numbers are like through the roof now 5 years later after 2016. So, I mean, I don't know like how many people have to die. It's shocking and sad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, those are shocking numbers, and who suffers is the mom, the family, right? Because it's not just the addict out in the street that I'm interviewing. Mm-hmm. There's a family behind that young man or young woman, right? So when they pass away or they get locked up or they're missing, that's a shattered family. And so again, that's why we need to get together and communicate, talk. What do we do? What are the answers? And try to fix it, But if we're just going to stick our head in the sand and pretend it's not there, it just grows. I've heard that during COVID last year, the cartels didn't stop, right? America stopped, right? Mm-hmm. But the cartels didn't. So less law enforcement because we're law enforcement is focusing on social issues and the social unrest and all that. But guess what? The drug epidemic was growing even stronger. And the cartel saying, thank you, thank you for the economic viability that we have because we're focusing on other things, So I wish this topic would gain just a fraction of the attention that some of these other,
right.
we just need a fraction of it and we could save some lives.
Right. I mean, and it's funny because, not funny, it's just ironic too, because there's even been so many big name people have been affected by this. I mean, Prince, who I just I interviewed a biographer on him. He's Prince. I read his book, his biography. He's an interesting guy, but he died from opiate abuse. Tom Petty, I was told. I didn't know that. That's I guess I did. Maybe I did know that. Philip Seymour Hoffman, amazing actor. River Phoenix. I mean, that was an older one. That might be some people don't know who he is, but he was a really bright, up and coming young star, would have been huge movie star. I mean, way bigger than he was because he died so young. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then the rock stars, I mean, that's just, that's like a full hour to go through all those. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. And I feel like there's so many ways that need, you could try the things, stop some of the stuff at the border, but I mean, I feel like you almost need to hit this stuff in the schools to teach kids not to even try it. Like we were saying earlier, it's like really more of a preventative thing with education by maybe having to show them some videos on your channel or, like maybe some of these kids come in or that have been recovered or maybe is there a video of people going through withdrawals so that kids can see what this looks like? I used to work in a methadone clinic actually. So I've seen that it's like the worst flu and that's how they describe it. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Prevention through awareness. Right. So I'll thank the people that I talk to. And once I tell them what I'm doing, they're more open, right? Okay, yeah. Do you want your little brother out here? Of course not. They say, okay, well, how about you sharing your story to help save a life out there, prevent them from even trying it? And they're like, yeah, you have a good point. Definitely. So prevention through awareness, and that's what we need to do. And talk to them younger, talk to them in elementary school, right? Because even, if these folks are telling me if there's 11, 12, 13-year-olds out there, that means we got to go even younger to elementary and talk to them about the realities that are out there waiting for them and what to stay away from.
Right.
Just, educating them. Knowledge is power.
And I think it needs to be transparency. And that's the one thing that I never understood. So when I was a kid, I remember going through the DARE classes and it was all this stuff about don't do drugs. And I was like, and they just kept saying how bad drugs were and all this stuff. And I was like, well, then I don't understand. Why would anyone ever do drugs? If they're bad, like why they never told you that, oh, people get a high and there's a euphoria. Like, just be completely honest. Like, yes, you will get a euphoria. You'll get a 15-minute high or whatever it is. And then this is what's going to happen on the other side of that. Like, and then you can weigh the costs and benefits for yourself. But I think most people would probably choose not to do that if they knew the transparency of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you hide something, people become curious. Right. You tell them not to do it. They become curious because we all have that rebel side to us. Right. Yeah. So I like that what you're saying, be transparent. Here's the, 15, 20, 30-minute high. You're going to feel great, amazing, according to these folks. Right.
Yeah.
But look, you're going to lose your teeth. You're going to lose your life. You're going to lose your friends. You're going to lose your family. Is it worth it?
You could die. You could commit a murder and end up in jail for the rest of your life. Like, is that worth it for a 15-minute high?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Ultimately comes down to us as individuals making the best decisions possible, but we need to have the best information possible to be well informed. And I think as a society, we're lacking, right? Because we're not giving everybody all the information, giving them bits and pieces, or they're learning from TV or shows or movies or, so I think we need to be honest upfront, and we're at that point, or if not, we're going to continue losing people.
Well, I just, one of the things I highlight on my show all the time is just, I always feel like, and I tell this to everybody, I feel like everyone has a purpose on this earth. It's to do something. And, if you haven't figured it out yet, keep trying. But I think everyone has something that they should be striving for. And that's why I end each episode, I say, shoot for the moon, right? Because that's what kind of my saying. Like, I think everybody should just try to follow their dreams or whatever. And like that one kid, he wanted to be an FBI agent and profile. I mean, everybody's got something and I feel like maybe that's the other thing, piece of the coin is like, if kids had something that they were focused on, oh, well, I'm going to go do this. So I don't have time to do blues. That's going to get in the way of what I want to accomplish, which is, every kid wants to be a YouTuber like you now. So you're the perfect example to show them, hey, you could be a YouTuber. So I don't know. It's just, it's sad to see this, but I think you're doing some amazing work. And the other thing people can do if they want to help is they can donate to your Lost in Phoenix charity, correct?
Right. So, a couple of weeks ago, I got approved by the Arizona Corporation Commission. My nonprofit was approved. So I'll be unveiling all the information soon.
Okay.
But basically, Lost in Phoenix is now a nonprofit
awesome.
sanctioned by the state of Arizona. And it's going to allow me to take this message to a bigger stage and really help out more than just interviewing and creating awareness. Now it's going to be able to go bigger, right? So I appreciate you bringing that up, and
awesome.
I'll keep you updated.
Yeah. So, well, is there a website where people can, or how can they donate now at this point? Is our website ready to go, or is it still in construction?
It's still in construction.
Okay.
I do have it. It's 90% done.
Okay.
But I'll be unveiling that.
Okay.
on my.
Okay. But otherwise, people could they can call you, and How do you, because you get donations for toiletries, clothes, food, all that. If people wanted to give you that kind of stuff, is there somewhere they can drop that off? Or
Sure. On my YouTube channel, Lost in Phoenix, in the About or channel description.
I'll put this in the show notes. Your address and all that stuff? Yeah. Okay.
The address is there, and then the PayPal, Cash App. Yeah, people send $20. Hey, please buy this person lunch. So.
Yes. And then and I like what you'll do. You'll put that in the video, and so that they'll know that, the person is actually getting the money or the whatever they've asked you to give them. So that's very cool that you do that. And I will put that in the show notes so people want to help out some of these kids. And definitely everyone should check out your YouTube channel and watch a couple of these videos. I told my girlfriend yesterday to watch some, and I went out I came back like an hour later. She was hooked. So, you just get, you get lost in Phoenix yourself watching these and getting wrapped up in their stories. Cause I think that's the one thing that we forget. I mean, these are human beings on the street, and I'm probably guilty of that too. Just thinking, gosh, what's with all these homeless people? This is ridiculous. And that's why I think I'm so fascinated by this topic, because it's just, I don't understand how we just allow this to happen. I don't understand why we're just letting people live on the streets. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like there should be some sort of solution. And like I said, I haven't seen it from any politicians. So I think what you're doing is at least highlighting it and showing it and shining a light on it. And so I think that's the first step. And like you said, now you got a nonprofit that you can do bigger things. It's exciting. So
yeah, definitely. And so when I see little young kids, I'm like, how many of these people, they have hopes and dreams, how many will realize them, but how many will be out there in the street? And I don't want that, we don't want the next generation for me to be interviewing them out there, let them live their dreams, let them live their lives, be children, and live for their dreams, basically. Right. So, but highlighting these stories is very important, because you're doing your part, I'm doing mine, and to get some notoriety behind what's going on here in Phoenix. Absolutely.
And I think it's not just Phoenix too. And I think that's why people are watching from all over the country and the world, I think you said, right?
Yeah. I've had people in Australia and just all these countries that I didn't think it was going to get to this point, but people do care, because it's about humanity, right? No, it's not, oh, look at those crazy Americans. No, those are humans, and we all can get lost, and then we all have compassion for them. So that's something I've learned in this past year. Be more compassionate towards your fellow man.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing some great work, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll get this out real soon.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Thank you. Well, it's a tough subject, but something that needs to be talked about, and I'm glad that there are people out there like Art who are shining a light on the issue and hopefully educating people, and perhaps even inspiring some people to take action. And I hope Art will come on the show again. I really enjoyed our conversation. I wanted to say that he's one of the nicest guests that I've ever had on the show. And then I remembered, I think I said that about another guest. So I don't know who's the nicest, but he's definitely in the top 5. Definitely check out his YouTube channel, Lost in Phoenix, and subscribe to it. And if you can, send some money or some supplies to help out. I think that's a really cool thing that he's doing, and he will show a video of him delivering those things, so it's going to the real cause. He's not taking anything off the top. So the links are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this interview and you want to support the show, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. That will help me out a lot. Also, your likes, shares, and comments on both YouTube and social media help me out. And finally, if you have a couple extra minutes, if you can write me a review on Apple Podcasts, that helps the podcast go up into the charts so that more people can find the show and we can get this message out to more people. So thank you again to Art for doing my show, and thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and remember to shoot for the moon.